Marie Cloud heads up the design firm Indigo Pruitt. Her work focuses on creating environments that not only please the eye, but also truly promote emotional well being and a life giving home experience. Beyond her design prowess, she is also an advocate for diversity in the design world and actively participates in community outreach, primarily where she lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. And today, we talk about all of the above. Here's Marie. My guest today is Marie Cloud. She was educated in interior design at Bowling Green State University, and she opened up her own firm, Indigo Pruitt, in 2017. Last year, she was recognized as a 2023 Face of Design by Benjamin Moore and Luxe Interiors and Decor magazine. Marie's work focuses on creating environments that not only please the eye, but also promote emotional well-being and a life-giving home experience, which is why I wanted to talk with her today. Marie Cloud, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Great. Well, I got to ask you before we go into the meat of it, what does Indigo Pruitt stand for?
So my maiden name is Pruitt. And if you have seen just a little glimpse of any of my social or read anything about me, I value family tremendously. And so that last name has just significant value to who I am today. I want to create just beautiful generational health under that umbrella. And then the indigo piece. So I kind of geeked out a little bit in college when we talked about color theory and color history. And I love the history behind the indigo dye. I love that it had, it had so many scientific implications, how it's extracted from the plant, and then also the history element of it, how it has touched so many places in the world, and how it's kind of been this vehicle for economical wealth for many spaces, and particularly in African American culture, the way that it kind of paved the way from an economic standpoint for women in some spaces. And so I just love the historical element that this beautifully saturated hue, right? Like we can't overlook the beauty of that indigo dye.
Yeah.
So it has this beautiful aesthetic value, this historical lens that is very just inspiring, and then this scientific backing that you can't deny is really intriguing.
Well, clearly you like the layers of things. You like knowing what those layers are, kind of digging into them. And also it sounds like seeing all of the different facets of something. And I love that kind of thinking. It can be very abstract, but then you see the connections between things. And I think that it does show up in your design and your aesthetic. So let's keep talking about that. How do you define your style? If you had to kind of give me a sentence or description, your own personal aesthetic.
Well, first, dare I say that I think Indigo Pruitt is an aesthetic within itself. These projects have a way of captivating this fusion of styles and aesthetics and those layers that we talked about. I'm very strategic with color saturation. I like adding different layers of textures, bringing in a fresh modern flair paired with some of those timeless elements that we love to see, very rooted in a narrative approach.
So how does your story show up in your home? What are some design choices that you've made that really reflect pieces of who you are?
I'll start by saying I'm actually in the process of redesigning my home. And I'm so excited about that, particularly because it's a testament of this evolution of design for me, right? What my story was 3 years ago is different. I've had kids and I've started a business, and there's so many new elements and new layers to who I am now. And so I'm ready for my space to reflect that. Right now, if you were to walk through my home, you will see a lot of cultural elements. You'll see beautiful Black and brown faces celebrating the beauty and vibrancy that we bring to the world. That's important to me because it's important for my children to see that and to feel inspired within their dwellings before they go out into the world and look for that inspiration.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of family photos, and that's kind of something that I think trends have shied away from.
Yes.
Um, you're going to see family photos around my home. You're going to see pictures of my aunt and my grandmother and cousins, because that aligns with my value of family. We have a lot of art around. There's this one piece that I absolutely love. It is a pencil sketch of a young Black male, and the texture of his hair is just like perfect. And then he has these tribal illustrations on his face, and then his hand is pulling down his bottom lip, and you can see he has a gold grill. And so I love the historical element with the painting, or with
Yes.
the tribal paint on his face. I love the detail of the texture of his hair. And then I love the hood reference of the
Mhm,
grill,
mhm.
and it was just the perfect combination of elements that I think is representative of who I am and all the many layers that I bring to any space that I walk into. So it's the main
Yeah.
piece that you see when you come into my home, because it celebrates who we are, but then it's so authentic and real.
Yeah. Oh,
And that's
this is going to obviously be our through line today. I am so interested in that as well. The layers of meaning that you can, I think, get to through design elements like texture, which you mentioned,
mm,
color, sure, pattern, old and new. I mean, all the stuff that
mhm,
you've done throughout your home and in your clients' homes. So
yeah.
I want to come back to those family photos. So I hope I don't forget that.
Okay.
Before I do that though, I want to now kind of turn it on to a client of yours
Mhm.
and say, okay, do the same thing. Give us like how did you bring out the story of a client?
So this is my game room project. I had a client, he works for Microsoft. So he does computers all day long. He's literally sitting in the same spot for 8+ hours
Yeah.
shooting. And he's a gamer. Him and
Okay.
his son, they're both into gaming. And so he wanted to convert his office space into a game room.
Ah,
So, in the midst of that conversation, he says, I want to feel like I am high in my office. And
okay.
he's just like, do your thing.
Yeah, right.
The challenge was it had to be very, very technology heavy. Everything needed to sync to smart technology. We
Yeah.
needed to have everything needed to connect to Alexa, so he wouldn't have to move from his
Oh,
chair, and he can
right.
just give commands. And above anything, everything else, he wanted the space to feel as though he was high on, like on mushrooms, and like spazzing out. And so we put clouds on his ceiling. His entire ceiling is covered in this cotton material, and behind those are strips of lights that we
Ah,
set on various themes. So he can have a sunset theme, he can have
oh,
an evening theme. I mean, it's over like 20 different settings we customize based on how he's feeling and based
yeah.
on his mood and kind of what the overall vibe is. He can
Yeah.
get as trippy as he wants to, in
Right.
those settings. And it's just a push of a button on an iPad to help control his environment.
Huh.
It was a really cool project because it allowed us to execute the most extreme requests that we've had,
Yeah.
all rooted in so much emotion. So,
Yeah.
as kind of taboo as it was for him to make that comment, I
Right.
actually thoroughly enjoyed it.
Right.
But as unexpected as that comment was, it gave me a visual of what
Hmm.
it gave me a visual of what he wanted in this space, but it also gave me an idea of the emotion behind it.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
wild. I love it. Okay, the foundation that I believe that every home needs to have
Mm-hmm.
is art, antiques, nature,
Mm-hmm.
history slash heritage culture,
Mm-hmm.
and handmade. I'm wondering
Mm-hmm.
if there are any of those that really speak to you.
I love those. I think you gave vocabulary to kind of unearthing some of the elements that I want to incorporate, because I think all of those things, they all have a story behind them. They
Right.
all
So,
invoke
yeah.
emotion, and they're reflective of experiences. The artisan piece is very intriguing to me, and it's something that I really want us to start incorporating a lot more. And we have been doing it subconsciously, but I want us to
Mm,
be intentional about it. But adding handmade and artisan elements to spaces, I think it sparks a level of inspiration and creativity that off the shelf items really can't bring. And I also think handmade or artisan items is a way to support and give visibility to groups that aren't represented in mainstream media or in publications that you may not see regularly, but to be able to shop their product, bring it in their homes, tell your friends and your families, let them experience it within your home, I think is a celebratory way to value that.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go back to the family photos, because I just remembered I wanted to ask you about that. Why do you think it was no longer design cool to have family photos around? Was it the way they were displayed, or?
I don't know if I really deal with it. To be honest with you, I'm kind of annoyed at watered down design that does not represent the authentic, well curated, over time, lived in home and the people that live within it. I think people are becoming very much more consumeristic, and on a deeper level, the family dynamic and the value of your most sacred space, that being the home, is losing. I think it's losing its vibrancy because everyone is chasing a trend. Everyone is looking for the next best thing, and how do I remain polished and make sure my picture perfect home stays aesthetically ready.
Right.
And so that lends towards, hey, let's take the perfect family photo and post this perfect way, and that those are the only photos that should be on the display, not the one where we have the candid laughs of our
Yeah,
children,
yeah,
or the one where your drunk uncle is making fun of everyone, but it's the
yeah,
perfect candid of his personality,
yeah.
so those are the ones for me that bring life into a home. It's going to be very unfiltered. It just so happens, because my aesthetic is very unapologetic,
Mm,
then it I think people that are looking to run away from that perfect polished world, they're attracted to it,
right.
and they're drawn to it because they're ready for something that they can relate to, something they can grab a hold to and see themselves in it. But
Yeah.
that takes authenticity.
And a little bit of bravery, maybe, and a little bit of not caring so much what people think. But I love that word that you use, unfiltered, because that's exactly what has happened because of social media, is that all of our photos are filtered. They're all perfect, right? They're beautiful. They're magazine worthy. I mean, that's sort of the goal, right? And so by saying, well, if we don't use those, if we take the other kinds of pictures and put those up, then you're going to feel the vibrancy of the human that the picture is of. And that does that adds that layer that we keep talking about, that we keep referencing.
Yeah.
Okay, we're switching tactics a little bit. I'm wondering if there are any design rules of thumb that you tend to live by, or that would help people listening, just things that just tend to be true no matter what the space.
To be completely honest, I think we underestimate the power of your story. My advice would be to create a narrative of who you are and what you have to give to the world, but that takes work. If you kind of jump over that stage of getting to know who you are, you're creating a shell, and you'll get tired of it after a while because it's not rooted in anything. You've kind of jumped over the fact that, oh my gosh, your grandmother has this amazing antique and it has this beautiful story behind it, or you're jumping over the fact that your children absolutely loves to jump on their couch, but you keep getting this stiff bougie sofa, knowing that you can't create moments with your babies on that sofa.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the heart of my advice is to get to know your story, who you are, what you like, what sets your soul on fire, and then dare to ask the question why.
Yeah.
And I have found it feels very cold in a home if it doesn't have a beautiful narrative woven in it.
Right. And that doesn't come from following rules.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah. That's great. It's a great answer. Okay, I want to wrap up by asking you about your work within your community, because I was really, really interested in this section on your website. So there's a couple different ways you're involved in your community. There's Designers Community Day, there's Furniture for Good. Tell us about all that stuff.
Yes. So early on, when I started my firm, I said from the very beginning that I absolutely wanted an outreach element to it. And so I started volunteering with different organizations that aligned and connected and served the homeless and the unhoused crisis. When God blesses us with these gifts and these talents, we're to give back. And that's just the way that I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
But as I continue to serve clients and go into these beautiful homes, and I just felt just kind of uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
kind of very grateful, but I was a bit disheartened at the fact that I get to be in these beautiful homes and create these beautiful designs. And then there are people that they don't even have a home.
Yes. Right.
And so I started doing some research, and I was just blown away that the interior design community was not on the front force of
Uh-huh.
the unhoused
Uh-huh. You're right.
crisis.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
anything, I feel like we should be on the front lines of advocating for this space, because we're so privileged to create beautiful designs, with people that are blessed with a
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
And so that's where Designer Community Day came from. I didn't want to kind of just keep this excitement and this passion to myself. I'm like, well, let me bring my peers along. I'm sure that there's other people that want to do something, that want to serve their community, and they just don't have the vehicle to do so. And connected with an organization here that I was volunteering with, which is Furnish for Good.
Mm-hmm.
And they serve the unhoused community here in Charlotte. We have had a tough last 5 years
Okay.
here in Charlotte, and so they have been putting in a lot of work in reference to that crisis. And so one day we came together and packed up a lot of home furnishing items, and those items will be sent to those transitioning out of
Mm.
homelessness into
Mm.
their new homes. And so, yeah, we're going to have
Yeah.
it every single year moving forward.
You make such a good point. Why isn't the design community at the forefront of this? There are things that are being done here and there. There are,
Mm-hmm.
people, different
Yeah.
pockets
Mm-hmm.
around the country, but it is not a focus of the design community.
Yeah.
And yet, if we believe that your environment has such a big impact on your well-being,
Oof.
then
Listen.
then why isn't it more important that everyone have access to that? I mean,
Yeah.
otherwise, who are we talking to here? I mean,
Yeah.
our environments impact all of us. And if your environment is the shelter,
Mm-hmm.
then that's impacting you, and you deserve to get out of it, and you deserve to have a space that really nurtures you, protects you, makes you feel safe, so
Mm-hmm.
that you can blossom.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I love that you're doing this, and I think that it really could become, you're the kind of person that could bring it to the forefront of the design industry.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think you mentioning, hey, if we believe that our environment really does impact us the way that we say it does, then why aren't we,
Mm-hmm.
leading the charge in this effort? I think that is kind of part of the issue. I don't think there has been enough push and enough advocacy around how our environments impact us.
Mm.
I'm actually in the process of a certification in science and design,
Mm.
which is the study of neuroaesthetics, which
Mm-hmm.
how our built environment impacts our mind and our brain and the way that we function and such.
What's exciting you about the design world right now?
I think if we continue to go deeper into the beauty, then people
Yeah.
will be more responsive to it, continuing to push what it genuinely means and the action that has to come behind it, if that is the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's about taking the frivolousness, I think, of decor, of, pretty things, and really understanding that beauty is there's a lot of depth to it. That beauty,
Yeah.
true beauty, is
Right.
not, it's just not about like pretty things. And
Yes.
therefore our design world that you and I live in, a lot more than other people, right?
Right.
That they can tap into something like that and not feel like they're being frivolous, because
Mm,
if they're getting really deep the way you're talking about with themselves and being honest with themselves about who they are, expressing that, then it's a very fulfilling act, I think, to
yeah.
create beauty.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. I think another thing that I'm excited about. I am excited about creating more visibility for Black and Brown designers in the industry. I'm enjoying the progression of right now in the industry. Small progress, but better than what I've seen in the past. I am seeing a lot more Black designers being represented in publications, on social media, on panels, speaking engagements, being positioned as experts, the experts that they are in the industry. I'm seeing that more. I think there's a misconception that, there's just more Black designers out there now, but we've always been here.
Right.
We just didn't pop up overnight.
Right.
We've always been here. It's just we're getting welcomed into spaces that we weren't welcomed into before. And so super excited about that.
What do you think the industry, people working in the industry can do better on that end? Because you said it's slow and it's, it's not perfect.
I think that there's an assumption that it'll happen, if my intentions are good, then it'll happen. And, you have to be intentional and strategic about valuing diversity. There's no doubt that there's beautiful cultural elements and talent and creativity that is rooted in Black culture. I will scream that to the day that I die. With that comes that expression in the industry, and so I just think if the industry continues to pursue that beautiful tapestry that I know that we can represent, we'll see the fruit of diversity within design. Design doesn't always have to equate this. And I think we were kind of stuck in this rut of only seeing this is the design standard,
Yeah.
If I have white walls, throw some eucalyptus in there, then some wood accents, then that's the design standard, So yeah.
Yeah.
That's my rant.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. Marie, thank you so much for your time today. I'm going to link to you in the show notes page, but for those of you living in Charlotte, if you would like to get in touch with Marie, where can they find you?
My website is indigopruitt.com. My Instagram handle is Indigo Pruitt, no underscore or periods, just Indigo Pruitt. And yeah, just hit me up. I love to chit chat. We keep it real, and we like to get to know each other.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you for having me.